Good morning and welcome to the Cutting Talks podcast. This is the space where we explore ideas, leadership, and transformation shaping the future of higher education. Today's episode is very special. We're looking and introducing the CUT's 2026 to 2030 strategic plan. And this is a strategy that looks to put students at the center of everything that the university does. So we're going to look at we're talking about Ubuntu, we're talking about integrity, diversity, innovation, and excellence. And we'd like to know exactly how the university then plans to see this through in our daily lives. But beyond that, there's another aspect that we're trying to look at today. We are celebrating 3 years of transformative leadership by our Vice-Chancellor and Principal, Pamela Dube. She was installed, I think, 2023, 17th of February, and we need to put that into context in terms of what this means to the university and to her in her leadership capacity. Professor VC, welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Motai.
Thank you. And we're talking about congratulations, and you're saying congratulations. It's been 3 years. One thing that stands out for you before we go to other things, what will be this one thing that says in the 3 years, that's what I know there are many. We could count, let me not even start, but I'm looking at as an introduction. What is this one thing that you say in the 3 years, I know here I made an impact?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Indeed, 3 years is a very short, it seems like a short time, but it can be a long time. When you've got a lot on your plate as an institution, and especially following the kind of period that we had, which was a very challenging period, that saw the independent assessor exercise in the institution. So I came on board with my team already, knowing that our work was cut out for us and knowing also that we need to be on a mission and we need to leave a legacy. So we had to start really from just making sure that the infrastructure that was required to support students, especially for academic success, it gets to be built.
Yes.
And it started actually with physical infrastructure, with the knowing that there were some monies that, needed to be used and there had been a backlog. So I think the main thing was making sure that we rescue those monies before they go back to the department and make sure that the mega projects that needed to take place were done. So dust was up in the air at the Velcom campus. We had the multi-purpose hall being constructed. We still have the education building still ongoing and residences. So it was all about the well-being of students, having accommodation, both campuses. Bloemfontein campus, we also had residences built up, School of Jewelry, so everything around supporting the academic infrastructure and making sure that we start with making sure that our students have got the places to stay and the academic spaces to go to.
I'm always worried when you ask one question and then Prof comes and answers all your questions. So now we can even say, no, let's be done with the interview. But before we continue, on Monday we have Varsity Cup. And we see you with the VC from the UFS, Professor Klopper. The importance of that, especially when we're having students, they're seeing you together, uniformity of two campuses, that we could call them rivals when it comes to sports. But for the academic agenda, that should send a different message when we see the two VCs together and supporting the students. The importance of that, and why did you see the importance of you, the two of you, meeting at that space, supporting the students from the two universities?
Yeah. No, for us, it really is about enriching collaboration.
Yes.
Regional with our partners from government to industry to other partners within higher education, the TVETs. So we need to set the pace. And we know the province also is very proud of having these two higher education institutions being led by female vice-chancellors. We have a premier who's also female. So we really want to show that we are on a mission and our focus is on our youth. There's lots of unemployment in the province, for instance, and yet we've got this wealth of skills and knowledge within this province from the universities, University of Technology, the TVET. Yes. And there's a huge difference that we can make. So the Bloom Derby was also a huge opportunity to also show the best that our students can do alongside their studies, in terms of the core curriculum aspect of things. And that's where Varsity Cup plays a huge role in unifying our students, showcasing their skills and talents. And both squads, as you saw, they worked very hard. Let's not talk about the scores and all of that and the results. The main thing was the process, the excitement, the students coming together, that unity of purpose was very, very inspiring.
It's about the vibe. It's about enjoyment beyond just going to classes on a daily basis and truly knowing that there is more beyond the academics. So the academics are important, but you still need to balance the two. Looking at the students, in the 3 years that you've been with the university, leading the university graduates over 12,000 undergraduate students. And we have alongside there almost 245 your masters and then your doctorals and also honorary doctorates. You're looking at these numbers. What story do they tell? What is the tale that when you're looking at over 12,000 undergraduates passing through the Butrowski Hall, also the masters or postgrad, and also I know there's also the professors that were inaugurated in your time, and so I think 9 or so. What story does that tell from a leadership point of view when you're seeing those numbers? What does that say to you and says to the university community?
No, for me, the story, first of all, they tell is about excellence, endurance, and perseverance. But the story that one doesn't always get to see is how long does it take for them to get there. And that's why my message has always been consistent in terms of, academic progression, students finishing within record time, really, getting as much support as possible for, to support students in terms of their academic progression. So at the end, when it comes to graduation rates and all of the ceremonies, we are so proud and excited and we root for our students. But I think there's lots of work still to be done in terms of really making sure that the pass rates also go up, from program to program, year on year, that students finish on record time. And the excitement and why we really celebrate with such excitement is because finally people have finished and they are on their way, to their careers. But the main thing for me is also while they are here, how do we support them so that, the pipeline grows even more. And even in terms of quality of the kind of, students that we end up having, go through that graduation ceremony stage. Thank you.
It becomes a success story when we're looking at it.
Yeah.
That it might need improvement, and maybe you're talking about student support in terms of them finishing in record time and all those. But beyond that, you spoke to this as well, and you took it to a level higher than I came here with. You spoke to the premier is female. You're talking to the VC from the UFS is female. But we're looking at the university here at home, and we're seeing that transformation as well. We have the 4 deans of the faculties being female. We have the registrar being female. Transformation. What does it mean to you? And do you see that which it means to you within the university space?
Yeah. No, I think for me it's very important to model and walk the talk. I think as a country we've made strides in terms of doing exactly that, walking the talk, and our attention to transformation in many ways. The transformation in terms of gender within institutions of higher learning, transformation of even our programs, the curriculum review and so on, but also really in terms of the kind of staff members that we have and making sure that they have access to opportunities, really transformation of staff experience and student experience. So even in terms of course, recruitment, and still abiding and complying with our employment equity, labor and immigration laws, that also comes into it. But going back to your point around, really the encouragement behind really equity when it comes to, women academics, women leaders, the university already showed a very bold move in the time that they made sure that there is a concerted effort to get a female leader to be, to be their next vice-chancellor. And it coincided, of course, with the fact that even within the region, within the Free State province, that we got another vice-chancellor who is female, and we've got the premier. And we have met, the three of us, and with our teams, really to say what's the best that we can do also out of not just showcasing female leadership, but really making a meaningful difference.
And we talk difference, and this is where now we go in to say we have a vision that speaks to changing lives, transforming society, and shaping the future. Before we get into the strategy, when looking at those, because I look at them, we need to change lives, we need to transform society, we need to shape the future. The urgent one right now, if any, or can we look at them uniformly and say they are all urgent, but how then, if there is one, which one is the most urgent right now? And what are we going to do to make sure that that one is achieved, to allow for the others to achieve? Because I think the ultimate goal is to be a leading university of technology, but we need to be that while we're changing lives, transforming this society, and shaping the future. Between these three, which one is the most urgent to see to it that the others can follow so that we become the university, the leading university of technology that we want to be?
No, I think the most urgent one is really around employment of our graduates, because that has a ripple effect in the communities, in terms of, the socio-economic growth. So really, creating opportunities for our students to be meaningfully employed after they finish their studies, I think for me is really a priority. And this is what the communities would also, see the gains of having sent their children to universities. I mean, as much as we know, of course, that the pursuit is more intellectual and more than just getting a job, but at the end of the day, you do need to, to put food on the table, and you do need to show the gains of having gone that journey. So, for me, that's a priority, and this is what we are also collectively working on. There is so much also focus now on work-integrated learning, on increasing our partnerships with our industry partners, businesses within the province, across at national level, and really just broadening those opportunities and really embedding within our curriculum work-integrated learning, and making sure that we were able to place our students, and that even after placements, they do end up getting permanent jobs, or at least get fully,
somewhere there.
Yes, and get fully employed after their internships.
A leading university of technology. This is our aim, and we're looking at it that we're going to do all these three things in practical, measurable terms. When we say we want to be a leading university of technology, how does it look? We'll talk about, before we end, in 2030, how does CUT look when now we say everything has been done the way the plan is, but not now? Right now, my interest is, we as CUT, we say we want to become a leading university of technology. What does it look like in practical terms, in measurable terms, to become this leading university of technology?
Yeah, no, I know it's a very ambitious, mission for us. I mean, you don't just declare yourself a leader. You get to be, to be told or to prove yourself as a leader. And you can only prove really through actions, more than just saying you're going to do this and do that, but really impactful actions. And for us, impactful actions, especially as a University of Technology, is very much around our applied research. I mean, as you know, we're quite big on applied research. We've got the Center for Rapid Prototyping and Manufacturing that is, doing wonders, across in the communities. We've got the Product Development Technology Station, or the PDTS, MedAd. We've got 7 research centers as an institution, and I'm not going to go into detail. I know you're still going to be talking to colleagues in those areas. But the main thing is the impact of the research that happens there, the innovation, the work together, the collaborative work with other, universities, but more importantly, also within the region, working with the partners and the communities. And they will tell you of the track record of work that's happened with the communities, the Tabanchu, in terms of advancing indigenous, knowledge systems, medical technology work that happens with traditional healers there. So there is quite a lot of exciting work that happens there. And communities need to see the results, because universities are supposed to be also anchor kind of, institutions within societies, and we work together with communities, and they see really the payoff of collaborating also with us. It's not just taking from them, but it's working together for a common purpose, really, when it comes to our socio-economic development of our communities and our youth, being in the lead.
Definitely.
Really.
Prof, we have universities, in a way, have this predicament of balancing the expectations. And you've spoken to this as well, that we need to excel in the academia. We need to excel in research and all that. But we have a social responsibility, which partly you've spoken to, in that we can go to Tabanchu, but we still need to do research and take it back to them. When we're looking at these social partnerships, how are we doing as a university? We have the Welcome campus and the region where it is situated, which will be different in terms of what than the Bloemfontein campus has. How are we working with these two communities and making sure that we are relevant to them, though we are one CUT, but we know that we're serving two differing communities and we need to address them differently? How are we doing in that part so that we balance the excellence that we have in terms of research, applied research, the prototype that we have, the partnerships that we have with Tabanchu and all, but we also have something in Welcome that we can also say on the table, this is what we're doing to balance the equation.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. Actually, you've hit the nail on the head, especially by mentioning, Welcome campus. I mean, there is lots of work that already, has been happening in shaping, especially what we call the precinct model, where really the university, the campus at Welcome works closely with other role players within within the district, the district and municipality role players, going all the way to, industry around the area. We've got some sections of Harmony Gold around there who are our partners. We've got, Bongani Hospital just as a neighbor. So it's really being conscious of what exists already, and what can we build on, working collaboratively, because really we all want to see also advancement within the surrounding areas of that campus. As you know, historically, it has always offered more, education teacher education related programs. And while that is great for the community, and we've got a few other, qualifications in management sciences and IT and so on, but we need to think beyond, just as our, as you know,
The slogan
if
will
our
go.
slogan says, we need to
Yes.
think beyond the immediate needs. We also need to make sure that we, work together with the community to also bring new innovative ideas. I mean, there's lots of work that's happening around entrepreneurship programs, but also around agriculture, smart agriculture, and some thinking really around growing, expanding the programs. We are looking at the possibility of a school of mining, for instance, and also the use of AI, in all our programs, and ethical AI, getting also the community through our short learning programs more closely engaged and participating also at that campus level, and not just at CUT as a whole university, but at both campuses. Welcome campus, we need to grow that. It's already happening here. We've got partnerships, with Mangaung, and other role players in government, and we offer short learning programs where colleagues come for programs there over the weekend, and we want to expand that also even to a Welcome campus.
All right then, and we're doing this, and from what I'm hearing, it could be initiatives to improve the Welcome campus and to make it that it's functional as it's supposed to be, improving the Bloemfontein campus as well, or let's say CUT in general. But the main idea is and it's also a phrase within the strategy as well, that there is access with success. When we're looking at that, the meaningful student success for CUT, how does it look? Because the strategy will say that we need to have access with success. I need to talk to students who are completing their studies in record time, and to talk to a whole lot of other things, employability and all that. From your point of view, from a leadership point of view, how does it look like when you talk about student success? It could mean different things to different people, but it could be interesting to know from the VC's point of view, looking at the 2026 to 2030 strategy, student success. What does it look like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, we're looking at our students as future ambassadors that would be basically, talking positively about CUT and say that I am where I am because I went through that university. There was attention to my well-being, to my whole student experience, not just in the academic space, but also just my total well-being, the kind of services that we offer, for instance, to students for mental health attention, for, medical attention. We've got a very thriving disability unit, and there's a lot of work still to be done. I mean, we don't dismiss that. And part of the reason we are highlighting it as part of our strategy is because it kind of also mobilizes us around having to make sure that all of this happens. So the success, of course, is eventually having the student being an independent, entrepreneur. If they are not employed by somebody else, that they are able, for instance, to use the entrepreneurial skills that we are now instilling, and making sure that almost every student that leaves this institution has got entrepreneurial skills. There's Entrepreneurship 101 that we already have started to contribute also towards that. So, success can be multifold, like you said, but for me, it's what our future alumni will be saying about us. That is the success.
Definitely. I'm going to move to where we look at some aspects of the strategy, just here and there, to highlight a few things that I think are critical for us to move here, knowing that the university space will move from what you said, and then we'll take that and move with it. But before then, I would say, if you start at the end, we can now map the way to say, are we getting to that which is the vision in 2030? CUT in 2030. How will it look like? We look in 2026 to 2030, and then from there we'll see how we get to that plan, which you would have said, this is the CUT that I see in with this strategy in 2030. And then we now go to say, how then do we do that to get to that 2030 that you have in mind? So how does CUT look? We have the strategy and we say we want this CUT to be the leading university of technology and other aspects of the strategy. But from your viewpoint, your analysis, how do we look in 2030? What has changed? What is different? What has improved? What is working? What is not working? This is 2030. How are we looking? Yes.
Yeah. No, 2030 is a very important milestone, but it's not an end in itself. So, I mean, we've got a Vision 2030 that I also found on board. So let's talk about the strategic plan 2026 to 2030. Is just the second part of the Vision 2030, which was really a 10-year vision since it was crafted in 2020. And so we would be anyway starting work to beyond 2030, in the next 2 years. So while this is the plan for 2026 to 2030, but the work towards shifting our vision, expanding it, recalibrating it even, is still going to happen. So in 2030, as a milestone, all the work that we've been doing, I mean, even the work before my time, it will be an opportunity for us to reflect and make sure that we are on the right track in terms of what we had set out to achieve. So, for instance, I'll talk about the second part, where we are saying we want our students to be basically, to be entrepreneurial. We want to see our students coming back and motivating other students and showcasing what they've achieved, since the time they were here prior to, 2026, or during, or let's say those who finish by 2027 or 28, we want them by 2030 to be telling good news stories about us. I mean, that's number one. The good news stories is always important. Our research impact, that's always, I mean, there's a lot of growth that has happened in a short period, really, even in terms of our research output. We are not yet there, but we are measuring progress by where were we 3 years ago and where are we now? And we know, but we've got an end kind of, an end in sight in terms of what's the benchmark for us, So it would be reviewing also that, have we reached those targets that we had set out for ourselves? What's the community saying about us? For me, it's really always about the narrative, about our actions. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for spreading negative, stories, but it's about the positive stories that people would be talking about, the quality of our teaching and learning, our programs, our research output and innovation. It's how do we shift the narrative right now so that we have all these role players and collaborators with us really rooting for us and saying, yes, we've been working with them. We are where we are because we worked with them.
And it's important that we ask that to say, like we said, it's a milestone in 2030, because sometimes there's this narrative that the plan is 26 to 2030, and there is no vision beyond that. And the moment the community gets to understand that, no, we're working on this plan until 2030, but we're already planning what happens beyond 2030. And it's something that I think the university community may need to understand, that this is a plan from this year until 2030, but the university does not stop in 2030. There should be plans to move forward. And some of those plans in higher education in general, and CUT specifically, looking at where we want to go by 2030 and beyond. It's academic transformation and student access. And we're looking specifically at STEP programs, the strategic transformation of educational programs. So when we're looking at those programs and we're saying there are challenges in higher education to achieving these goals that we have in terms of the STEP programs, for CUT, what are the main challenges that we're seeing that then the strategy looks at those and say, we may be able to look at this and resolve them in this particular way. For us to have a successful STEP program, what is it that we are doing correct and what is it that we need to improve with the plan that we have currently then?
No, I mean, there's still room for improvement, especially, of course, in the review of our programs, checking the duplication of programs, the ones that have a high failure rate and getting to appreciate where the issues may be, getting feedback from the students, but also introspecting on the programs themselves in terms of their assessment. And also the quality of the teaching there, because it's not always just the programs, but how the students experience, the teaching. Because sometimes it might even be issues of not understanding because of the way that, that the teaching happens, or the communication kind of, gaps that might be there, that might contribute to the students either not understanding or the students not necessarily following on what's happening. So, the STEP program for us, I mean, it's really very much about looking at our programs. Are they future focused? And if we're saying future focused, what exactly are we talking about as a University of Technology? So that's also part of the plan, in alignment with what we believe and what we know our identity as a University of Technology is. So, I mean, that's just roughly basically the work that's going to be, happening. And I think the proof of, again, of a success in terms of that will be in the number of students that we are able to, move through the pipeline each year within their qualification, within their programs, and that's, again, that they graduate in record time.
And this, the STEP, and we need them to graduate on record time. One of the things that you spoke about earlier was employability being key in measuring the success of the university. We are in higher education, and there's a narrative that speaks to preparing students for employment that we're not sure what it will look like. There's AI, there are a number of initiatives that are coming through, and they are changing the landscape of employability or employees' relations in terms of what is available right there and what will be available by 2030 and beyond. What are we doing to make sure that which we do not know, which is very difficult, but we have a studentship that we say the first years this year, they'll graduate in 3 years, others in 4 years, depending on the course and the faculty that they are in. How are we preparing them to make sure that they are ready for this that we do not know? A very difficult thing, but from a leadership point of view, it's critical for us to know that our students are ready for the unforeseeable, for the unknown, so that they deal better. And that which we say employability will be one of the measures of success for the university, we can still measure that, but for something that we do not know. I don't even know how that question comes about when you say for something that you do not know, but you need to prepare them for that as well. What are we doing as a university to make sure that our students in 2 to 3 years, they are ready for the market that is forever changing, as opposed to in the past where, an HR officer will always be an HR officer, they'll be sitting there. But things are changing drastically, and we need students who are prepared for that dynamic change.
Yeah. No, it's very much about really the options that students are given opportunities to have while they are studying whatever specific program that they're in, that they get to appreciate that there are parallel offers that can shape their skills, not just in the co-curricular space, where really also, I mean, you have students, for instance, that are involved in our CUT FM. And we do not, I mean, while we offer media studies and so on, but you'll find that a number of students who are there are not necessarily from the media studies kind of track. So the expanded kind of learnings, I mean, continuous learning, giving all of these, opportunities across campus. We talked already around entrepreneurship, that every student would have to leave the university having at least some basic entrepreneurial skills. Innovation. I mean, students nowadays have a lot of innovative ideas. There are lots of prototypes and apps, and, people are very creative. And we've got the infrastructure, the environment for that, and the support for that, in terms of students being able to, really realize their creativity in the different, Fab Labs that we have. We've got the iGym. We've got a number of, support areas within the institution. It's about students getting to know that it's not just about the area that they are studying in, while we are shaping it and trying to improve it and making it future focused, but there's a variety also of skills that students can learn while they are on campus. It's about them opening up their eyes to that and knowing that, whatever program they've studied, it's not necessarily guaranteed that the job they will end up getting will be just about that program. But the skills you learn from that program and the overall skills from around all these other opportunities that you've used while you are a student on campus all come together through your career journey. I think that's, the commitment we can make, because we can't guarantee that everything that we are offering for sure is going to be preparing them for the future. Yes, the basic skills, having been to a university, having that analytical, intellectual mind, that creativity, that innovative kind of, spirit that you learned and you shaped through having gone through this institution, is what we can offer you. But we cannot guarantee that only your program is what's going to give you everlasting joy, the program that you studied or the qualification that you got. But it's about continuous learning and opening yourself up to other opportunities.
Fully understandable. The one of the things, and we'll come back to student success to end this part before we move on. One of the things that the strategy talks to, though the emphasis is not literally there, but when you talk about student success, we talk about language and academic literacy being central to students succeeding within the university space. How critical is those elements, especially academic literacy and language development or recognition of the needs, the linguistic needs of our studentship for them to succeed?
Yeah. No, that's always also an exciting one. Academic literacy, of course, is very important to be able to navigate the space. A lot of our students come from really backgrounds where they haven't had any access basically to even the digital technology that's required to even learn that academic literacy in an expanded way than what we offer on campus, but also the backgrounds that shape, students for interest in learning and continuous reading and getting to appreciate the importance of being multilingual as well. I know we get a lot of young people who still struggle with expressing themselves in the language, the dominant language that we have as an institution. I know we are multilingual. We've got Afrikaans and we've got Sesotho as part of it. And while we are open, of course, in terms of our language policy to students also learning in those languages, but we know that the predominant language of instruction is English. And so how do we also equip our students more to get to appreciate that, while appreciating the multilingual space, but be also proficient in the language of instruction, but not lose also touch with the indigenous languages and their importance and role also in their learning experience. As you know, some of our students in some of the professional areas, be it, in radiography, somatology, they have to be talking to people in different languages. And we've got in the parallel space of their programs, we've got languages that I would offer. We've got extracurricular support also for students to learn other languages that they do not know. So that's how we promote, languages within the institution, and our multilingual kind of, kind of posture. And like I said, it's very important because it kind of, it affirms you as a person, especially of African descent or who's within the continent in Africa, South Africa, to feel that your language is recognized within the institution. And even if it's not necessarily your language directly, but that there are efforts to make sure that we recognize our multilingual society and that there is a place for it. And you can learn from the basics that's here and start your own thing.
Definitely. No. We take courage from that. Visi, student success that we've been speaking about, mainly focused on students. I know we touched a bit on your academics and your support staff and all that. But if we're looking at academic staff and how they are supported through this transformation process, through this plan from 2026 to 2030, so that this success, because we won't have students succeeding without academics being there to support the students to succeed. How does then the plan make sure that we have a supported academic staff to make sure that we have a success and the access with success is realized at the end of the day?
Yeah. No, I mean, our staff, it goes without saying, our core assets really, even in terms of making sure that we achieve all these ambitions for student success. And so fit for purpose staff it's very important to have a staff that are also well equipped with the know-how, because it's as you were saying, there's a lot of technological advancement, quick pace changes that they need to be also catching up with. So continuous learning is very important. And as you know, we've got areas within the institution. SILT assists a lot in the Center for Innovative Learning and Teaching, assists in terms of, advancing our staff capacity in terms of development. But of course, there are also programs at national level that we make use of in terms of the UCDG grant and our own programs internally in terms of really, continuous professional support of both our academic and support staff. So, and that really talks also to our interest in our staff experience within the university, concessions for their continued studies, to expand their qualifications. So study concessions, supporting them, supporting their family members. Those are huge efforts, and this is something that's happening for across the nation. Actually, I've always thought we are very generous as an institution. Other universities will do this only, with partners in the same kind of region or neighbors and so on. And we're doing it across, the country. And that's really a bold kind of statement in terms of we want our staff members to be as widely exposed to opportunities and to feel supported, especially when we don't have what they're looking for on offer within our university for their continuous professional development.
No, definitely. One of the things that you touch on for when we're talking about supporting staff in general, whether academic or support staff, you talk about the digital transformation that we need to have, that we are realizing in our daily lives. Why has it become an urgent priority for the university? Because it's one of those, I think, from I think we have, it's digital transformation that we need to focus on when we're looking at the strategy as a whole as well. Why is it urgent now? It could be obvious to an ordinary person to say it's obvious because of 1, 2, 3. But for the university to say we need this digital transformation, we need to see it happening. why is it a priority for the university going forward to take this on board and make sure that the transformation finds expression within the university space?
No, I mean, we cannot avoid it. First of all, as a University of Technology, we need to also, show what we can do in terms of really, the advancements, the whole fast-paced changes when it comes to technological advancement and the digital space. And for us, really, it's also very important that we equip both our students and our staff, because that's where the world is going. But even before then, I mean, it's I know a lot of people say after COVID, there was even more focused increase. We started before COVID because that's where the world is going. And we need to be, do everything possible to be in line with trends, but also, even more important, be ahead of trends, so that at least the skills that we instill in our students and our staff gets them to be ahead of trends, or to be part of actually creating those trends and not just follow whatever is coming. So that's where the world is going. I mean, briefly put, that's where the world is going, and we need to be future ready, currently ready, to be able to also, chart the path and not only follow.
No, I hear that digital transformation, and one of the key initiatives that we do have is, and we touched on this earlier as well, is research center optimization, to have this that works for the university, so that we have the outputs that we're looking for. We are this leading university of technology that we want to end up being. How do we strengthen then, or how does it strengthen the university's identity when you talk about research center optimization, to know that whether it's digitized, whether it's just the research outputs that we have, but applied research, but the moment we have this for the university's identity, how will this then improve on what we want, the brand CUT out there, when we say the centers that we have could be research optimization, it could be any other center that we have. How will that then strengthen our identity, strengthen our brand as a university, so that we end up being this university of technology that we want to end up being?
Yeah. No, I think really for a university, even if it's not research intensive, research basically defines your credibility as a university. For your teaching and learning programs, they need to be research, informed. They need to be evidence-based, basis for what you do in terms of improving the quality of your teaching and learning. Even in the community outreach kind of engagements, there needs to be some impactful research that you can showcase that this is what puts us, apart from other entities that work with the communities. This is what puts us apart as a university when we work with industry. A number of industry role players also have their own research centers. But it's different when there is a university collaborative aspect to it, because of the dedicated attention to the research, because of the dedicated commitment also to that research making an impact. So I think really at the end of the day, it's very much about the university being very clear that this sets us apart and we need to make it work. Without research, we may not be defined as research intensive, but we need to grow, because that's the only way we can be credible as a university, that whatever we have on offer is based on research as well, but also applied research does make a difference. And that also, contributes to our being distinct to other role players in society.
No, definitely. And for us, we're talking research, but now we need to take it to community and partnerships and then regional development. Because this research needs to work for the people that we're doing the research for, sometimes even with. There's this misconception that we do research on people or on communities when we're supposed to be doing it with communities, in partnership with them. That brings me to we spoke about Velcom in brief. But now I want us to look at the strategy, looking to respond to growing the Velcom, and we have the Velcom Velcom campus repositioning. Why is it important to transform the Welcome campus? And what is the end goal? Why do we want to transform it? But mostly, who's going to benefit more once the transformation, the repositioning is complete, if it will ever be complete? Because I think repositioning is always an ever-going development that can never say we are done with 1, 2, 3. But for now, we want to reposition the Welcome campus. Why is it significant? Who benefits more when it's repositioned in the way that the plan 2026 to 2030 aims to reposition the Welcome campus?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's to the benefit of the university as a whole that we've got equitable treatment of both our campuses and equitable growth. Yes. Not just treatment, but growth. And given the historical legacy of both campuses, but especially Welcome campus as a former Vista campus, there is more focused attention that is required there for this equitable growth to take place. So that's why, and being called it's being repurposed or repositioned and so on, is just the dedicated attention to make sure that it's got not just its own identity, because I'm always careful when people say, Welcome has to have its own identity. We need a CUT identity as an institution, but we need to showcase also the best that we can do across faculties, across locations, and so on. So when we talk about a Welcome campus identity, it's not distinct from Bloemfontein. It's a CUT campus, but it's showcasing the best that is within Welcome as a community, and but not separating it from the CUT identity. Bloemfontein, there might be some things that you will say, yes, are different to what's happening at Welcome campus. But going back to Welcome campus, really at the end of the day, there is that 10-year plan that already has started in terms of the work that's happening. We're going to be getting a new principal that we're all looking forward to having, but we're not waiting. The work is ongoing. We know the foundation is there in terms of what needs to happen. We just need to build on it and implement. And of course, the new principal will be bringing also their own perspective, but really we are on our way in making sure that, you asked about who does it benefit. It benefits CUT as a whole, but it also makes a Welcome campus distinct in the community, in the work that it does with the partners within, the communities and industry and so on, in that precinct model that we've been talking about.
No, definitely. I heard you talking about the new Welcome principal. No one is listening. Do we know who he or she is? No, that is fine. We talk about it. One of the things we talk about Welcome campus repositioning identity, and you have explained that nicely to say identity we need to have a CUT identity, but recognize that we have two campuses that are operating from two different regions. Therefore, there could be differences in how certain things are applied, but the identity is one. Then we have one Free State. How does then the development of a Welcome campus, Bloemfontein campus, broadly then benefit the Free State as a province? Then I think in that you may as well touch in terms of the South Africa, in the landscape, in terms of the country, nationally. How do we then contribute? But my main aim is broadly in the Free State, our university, branded as both CUT Welcome campus, CUT Bloemfontein campus, but one CUT. How do we then contribute to the development of the province that then the province will contribute to the national agenda as well?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. Actually, I mean, you recall every time our identity is Central University of Technology, Free State. And we will remind anybody who just says Central University of Technology and stops there. We always have to say Free State, unless you're saying CUT. But when you say the full name, and that's that sense of, belonging to the Free State as a province. It's that, it's that consciousness in terms of where we are, and that we have to start from where we are in terms of making an impact, in terms of, contributing basically to the growth of the, of the province that we find ourselves in, and working closely also with the province to be able to also benefit from these many numbers of students and the different skills that they have within, from across the two universities and the TVETs that we have within the Free State. So, for me, it starts there. And as I mentioned right from the beginning, we've got a number of collaborative projects with the Free State as a province, as well as with, even when we cut it into bite sizes with the municipalities and with the districts, because it's very important to make sure that we also, motivate our students not necessarily to leave the Free State, especially those who come from the Free State and those who come from outside, to see value and opportunities for employment here and opportunities to grow the Free State as a province here. But of course, there is a country with also broader opportunities. At the end of the day, we're all working towards something, a common purpose of making sure that we grow also as a country, as South Africa, and that we become the kind of global role player that we are on track to be.
Yeah, no, I see this youth. I'm starting to see the 2026, 30 and beyond. And I think that's very important. One of the things that I'm taking away here is we should not talk 2026 to 2030 without adding the thinking beyond or the beyond 2030, because it has this of saying after 2030, it's like we're saying we're closing shop, whereas there's no sense of closing shop anytime soon. Alumni becomes one of the key drivers of the student contribution to the university space. Post their studies, post their academic journey with the university. For long-term planning, you spoke about the good stories that our graduates need to tell. What could be beyond the good stories that alumni can contribute to making sure that our plans as a university truly comes to fruition as planned, even beyond what then the plans are saying?
Oh, yeah. I think, for our alumni, one of the big contributions, of course, is their participation within the university, paying it forward, working with our students, making sure that they also, encourage our students. There's so much that they can do in kind. It doesn't always have to be financial support, especially once they go out there and they've got their jobs. And I know, of course, there is always these requirements to take care of your own first before you take care of others. But really, why I was talking about the kind of narrative that they would be telling, it's also, more importantly, the pride, about the university that a person comes from, and really feeling, compelled to want to contribute because they want somebody else to share in the experience that they have had, and also to share in the opportunities that, as alumni who are working, they would be able to enable our students to have. Sometimes even just their stories of how they managed when they were on campus and when and in their working world are enough. So there's a lot. We've got a very strong alumni base, and I think we're very lucky to have that. But there is more room for growth. National alumni, not just only regional, and also looking at alumni from both historical formations that we have, from the Vista time to the former Technicon here, growing, really getting to them to be motivated to see value in the new CUT. We have a number that do, but they are more from the recent, maybe 10 years or so ago, and the institution is more than 10 years old. As CUT, it's actually 20 years old. But if you consider prior to that, my main thing is how do we bring those prior to 2004 on board as well, that they buy into the new CUT dream that started 20 years ago. And that is now going beyond 2030. How do they become part of that? And I think they just haven't been engaged enough to see value in being part of this journey. Sometimes I get that, for instance, when we've got sports, and then you'll hear from people you never thought studied at CUT, and they'll tell you, I studied at CUT before it became CUT. Then I'll ask, okay, how are you involved with the institution? How can we, So I think we need to be more proactive in terms of drawing everybody, because they do have interest, but if we are not reaching out enough, and also be, inclusive in our efforts to grow our alumni, because there are lots of alumni, not just with money out there, but alumni with purpose who want to support the institution.
Yeah, it could actually be an issue of platforms where they can contribute as opposed to always financially selling 1, 2, 3. We have this event, we have 1, 2, 3, pay what. But like you're saying, it could actually be other platforms that they contribute to the university. And maybe after that, then we can see how we get some money from them.
But also including studying. They can
they can always
studying.
come back. No, and that is important.
We've got short learning programs, we've got other qualifications, continuous professional development. They can always come back to us.
And one of those, when you look at the social media, I think the social media of the university, you see a whole lot of that advertisement being there in terms of the short learning programs that the university does have. Now, I think it started from last year or so, where we said intentionally, let's social media carry this in a way, maybe to get even those alumni, even new studentship coming through to the university to actually do the short learning programs. And that needs to be said that is being done well. And I think continuation of that and improvement on that can also improve on the alumni coming back and also attracting new students to do the short learning programs. VC, one of the things that we talk about is sustainability and accountability, which are key to leadership and operations within the university space. We're looking at, and when we talk about finances, when we talk about any other thing, I don't want us to focus on that one. I'd rather have the CFO there and ask him about how we plan into sustainability of finances and all. Mine, it will be a very simple one to you, VC, is that do we have a plan that is budgeted for and financed, and then we leave it at that? In terms of how the operations of that finance goes, I will not ask you that. I'd rather ask you to ask the CFO to make an appointment with us to talk to them about that. But do we have a plan, 2026 to 2030, that when we're looking at the financial status of the university, that we say we truly can achieve some of the things that we're saying we want? The APPs are out there, the staff members are starting to have their contracting from this year going forward, using and working within the plan 2026 to 2030. Do we have the financial muscle to see it through to 2030 and beyond?
Definitely, otherwise it wouldn't have been approved. So there is a resourcing plan, and that was also approved at council level, that goes along, along this, new strategy 2026 to 2030. And there will be continuous engagements across faculties and units in terms of how then that financial, a resourcing plan, giving meat into it, because it's really a framework. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done. For instance, we are looking at, the temporary staff in the academic, vacancies, the famous 70-30, but it's less than 70-30 ratio of academic versus support staff and so on. It really, and part of having to realize our plan means having to look at the kind of vacancies we have, how many, why we are using a number of them for part-time staff members, whom we do need, especially for our industry liaisons programs and related. So we've created a separate budget for that, so that we use those vacancies for the staff that is required in those positions, especially the senior staff, because we do want to grow our professorate, and for our research to grow, we need also those, senior positions that will inform the attraction of more young people and other research focused kind of engagement to happen. So so the part of that resourcing really also talks to that. It's not just the financial part and talking about sustainability. It's about also looking at, do we have enough capacity, even in terms of our, human resources within the academic space, because there's a lot of also, work overload. That's why we've worked also very closely with staff and labor around the workload model. So there are all those aspects that we are refining as we go forward for sustainability, which is, all of this requires funding, yes, but it's also very much about the plans for capacitating the institution with the right resources for us to be able to realize our strategic plan.
No, we hear as a community, and we take confidence in knowing that those plans, those you call them skeletons in terms of financial planning, they are there in terms of, and then the faculties and other support structures will take from there and take and know how then the implementation goes. The monitoring of the implementation of the 2026-2030 plans, how will it be, how will it go about to make sure that the strategy is actually actualized and delivers the results that it intends to deliver? I know IPQE is key in terms of looking at the monitoring and everything else, but from a high level, how are we planning to do the monitoring of this plan in terms of implementing it for the next 5 years?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's interesting to say from a high level. For me, it's from across all levels. It's everybody's business how that this plan succeeds, because from here, of course, there will be, or there is work on operational plans to operationalize and make sure that the strategy works. And so monitoring happens at every level, because there will be, clear targets that are set for each one of the key performance areas. It might sound very technical and so on, but monitoring also includes having to be technical about that. The plan has got about 33, key performance indicators that needs to be cascaded to the different areas. And those areas will have then also their operational plans that talk to the strategy. So the monitoring has to happen at every level, but more than the monitoring, it's the dedication and the commitment to making sure that the plan, so that it doesn't end up being a technical kind of exercise that, you didn't meet this target, you didn't do this. Yes, monitoring and having to make sure there's a way of measuring performance and progress is important, but more than anything, it's really the spirit of dedication that's required, and the commitment and the belief really in the plan. That's why I was saying also, I think to you earlier, that it's all nice and good to be doing this podcast and hearing from a VC. I want to hear from the colleagues, the staff members, the students, in terms of their experience of this, their understanding of what it is we're trying to be embarking on. Not trying, that we are embarking on. And so that it's not, when we started this, it was very clear. We started it we said we wanted to be from bottom up, across, high level, and, really inclusive. Yes. So in that inclusivity kind of direction, we want to also hear from the university community.
Yeah, no, I think that's a message to communications and marketing. They'll make a plan. I trust them. Don't worry, VC. They'll make a plan. We'll see students being also afforded the same opportunities, so that we hear from them as well. VC, we have a strategic plan. And in the past few years, we've had the strategic budget that was aimed at assisting the university from a strategical point of view. The alignment of this and that, because I know in the past few years there were talks about we need to have maybe 2 or 3 strategic projects that we say the strategic funds are looking at this. How are we consolidating the two and making sure that we do not have a strategic plan and we have the strategic fund that is funding something that is outside this key plan that we are having? How are we looking at those and balancing those two?
Yeah, no, the strategic fund is actually now very much embedded in the strategic plan. I mean, it can't operate outside of it. Even before the review and the work on the strategic plan, it was already clear how the strategic fund needed to talk to the strategy of the university. So the criteria and everything were already shaped in that way. We've just had to refine them, make sure that we do not end up having like 40 and above kind of applications, that there is consolidation, redirecting into a focus that talks to our three strategic goals of our strategy for 2026 to 2030. So it's working well. It is aligned. It just gets to be, it's about the consolidation and making sure that, the team that reviews all of those applications and so on, they end up also, kind of consolidating some of the work so that even when feedback is given, it is clear there needs to be some collaborative work, but that talks to the three goals.
All right, then. We are about to conclude. We have maybe 100 more questions
I'm
than
sure.
we should be done. Busy. We're looking ahead, and what I want to know is what excites you most about the next 5 years for CUT. We've spoken about the next 5 years is not an end.
Yes.
But it's there's actually a beyond that. But we have a plan that talks to the 5 years. We're taking cognizance of the fact that after 2030, we still have a CUT, we still have a leadership, we still have a vision and plans to carry us through. But with this plan, what excites you for the next 5 years, taking this plan into consideration?
Yeah. No, what excites me is the potential for unity of purpose that started with the way the work towards crafting the plan, was shaped. The plan wasn't shaped at a high level. It was shaped by the institution, different role players. There were so many workshops, consultations, contributions, campus-wide kind of town hall talks or campus community connect, which we want to actually expand on as we socialize the strategy. So for me, that was a very promising start. That in a way keeps me hopeful and excited about this unity of purpose carrying forward. Of course, there are still some warts and blisters and issues here and there, and that's in the nature of the work that we do. And the university is a place for different perspectives, and we are not always all on the same page about things, and that's normal. A university should be a place for the contestation of ideas and perspectives. So saying unity of purpose is not just a kind of a pipe dream. I just mean at the end of the day, we are all working towards the success of CUT, which we will get to appreciate then in the kind of narratives that we will be hearing. So the unity of purpose is not just, a nice political speak, but it's really about, even if we may be differing in a number of other things, as a university environment, we'll always have some kind of contestations in one form or another, but the purpose is still the same. People, whatever they are fighting for, at the end of the day, it's about advancement of CUT as an institution.
All right. And if you were to have a message that talks to this vision being possible and realized to the staff and students of CUT, and can even include the CUT community at large, what would be the message that you're sharing with the staff, students, and the CUT community when we're looking at this vision and making it as a success and for it to succeed in a way? What then becomes your message to us and to everyone that is part and parcel of the community of CUT?
For me, it really is very much about the fact that CUT will live beyond us, beyond our current existence here and this journey that we have together at CUT. And that we have a huge role to play while we are here to, to make sure that this university grows and actually does live beyond us, but in a very impactful and meaningful way. That there is no cracks, that will be a legacy that we leave behind and that will impact on the future of the institution. So for me, whatever differences happen at one point or another within the institution, among stakeholders and so on, really we have a lot of work to do in terms of making sure that those are addressed so that we get to a point where really the unity of purpose that I've talked about lives beyond our current positions and roles that we are playing at the institution. And that we are proud at one point to say, you see, those students or those people who are doing this and that in society, we were part of co-creating their future.
No, definitely. I promise we are about, and now we're having 96 questions left. I want us to do a rapid reflection. One or two words when I ask you or I say a statement. One or two. Just a rapid reflection of what we've been speaking about today, and then we are done after that. Those will be my 96 questions that are left. So let's see. One word describing CUT's future. One word describing CUT's future.
Determination.
Determination. And then we move. One quality every CUT graduate should embody.
Excellence.
One common misconception about strategic planning.
Cumbersome.
One favorite employee you have. I'm joking, we don't have that.
All of them.
All of them, definitely. Professor Dube, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. And I think the CUT community will enjoy this conversation and know that the strategy is not only about the management and the executives, but it is for all of us and to make sure that it does succeed. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for starting this initiative. All of the best.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this then has been the production, the first of the year of the Cutting Talks podcast, where we looked at the CUT Strategic Plan 2026 to 2030. Our guest, a special guest, 3 years in the role, Professor Pamela Dube. Re lebohile ho menahane. Re tla boela re kopana nakong e tlang. Ha ebe boroko kgotso e phaphathwe ke Basotho bohle. Re lebohile.
Ke a leboga.
Re a leboga.